Welcome to The Stand. When we stand for God, He stands for us. What we're going to be talking about today is, what do you really go to church for? Some people may feel they go for an entertainment value. Some people may feel that they go for, to be more enriched, to get that uplifting feeling kind of thing. Guys, what do you think about this?
Well, one thing's for sure is there are people who, unless church entertains them, don't find any reason to return. And so one could make the argument that unless church is entertaining, there can be no enrichment.
I think we need to be careful with how entertaining we become, because there is still an amount of decorum that is needed. And I think in response to your point, that sometimes we focus too much on what we can get without focusing on how we can also contribute in order to get what we want, right? Because things can be entertaining if you maybe find whatever niche it is that you excel in and contribute in that way. I mean, I may be the type of person who doesn't like to sit and be talked at, but I love to be participating. I love to be leading, and that can be my form of entertainment. So I think instead of focusing on maybe that particular method doesn't entertain me, but maybe I could find another method which can and contribute in that way.
I'd like to argue that it doesn't matter for some people. And the reason why I say that, I'm always trying to talk on behalf, but I'm not going to talk on behalf of everybody. I'm talking about myself per se. There are a group of people in the church who they've just grown up in the church from since small, and regardless of if they're getting entertained or they're getting enriched, they're just going to go to church anyways. I kind of, in a sense, fall into that category. Now, when I think about whether I go for one or the other, for me personally, it changes. There are sometimes, based on how my week goes, that, I just feel really empty. I feel spiritually empty, and I come to church and I'm expecting to be, quote-unquote, entertained, meaning I'm wanting to hear something that's going to give me something for the week ahead. And then there's other weeks where it's the complete opposite. So that's for me personally. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Well, certainly we have some biblical models that we can follow. One of the examples that we have in the Word about the church is that we are the body of Christ. And as that body, all of us have certain gifts and certain talents and abilities that we contribute, as you said, to make the body better, and also to fulfill its duty in the community. So I would like to say that you're right. Each of us coming into the church and contributing those gifts in a way enriches us personally, but it also enriches everyone else who comes. And I suppose if everyone in the church came and contributed their gifts and their talents, then everyone would walk out also feeling enriched by the ministry of other people. That being said, though, I don't think it's all that wrong to seek to provide entertainment. Do you think that's wrong, to try to provide entertainment?
To actually put on a show?
To make that part of the church's programming, to ensure that it is entertaining.
You need to be entertained, don't you?
Well, yes, entertain, and if entertained as well as polished too, because you don't want to put up any haphazard show and just say, oh, this is what we're presenting, and because we don't want to be too entertaining. You do have to have standards. It does have to be polished. It does have to be something, because it should be our best. So I don't think there's anything wrong with something being entertaining. You want to reach everybody at their level in different ways.
That's the reason why I was saying, for me personally, it depends, right? Because you have to realize when you come to church, there's not every single time that you come to church that you can be like filled enough or on a high enough that you can actually be the one who's doing the entertaining. Sometimes you want to be entertained. And so you have to realize that sometimes when you come to church, the reason as to why everybody can't really put in all their 2 cents all the time is because one day somebody might not feel like putting in their 2 cents, and that's okay. That's when you're going to step in and put in your 2 cents. And then the next time when you're not really feeling, and so when we get down to the nitty gritty of it, so to speak, the main reason in my eyes why we would come to church is because we realize that we're all at a point where we all at some point in time need each other, and we need certain things, and we get that at certain intervals in time, but it helps us to continue on to the next time when we do it all over again.
What happens, though, when perhaps there's a lack of balance And maybe you can all relate to that, where you've gone to churches where all you were was entertained, and you were not able to get any of your spiritual needs met. And for instance, we look at the book of Acts, a perfect example of an enriching church where the members had needs, and the word says that all of the members sold all their assets and redistributed them so that there was no one in the church that was with need. How much emphasis have we put in making sure that our members are well taken care of and their physical and spiritual needs are met versus taking care of their entertainment when they come to the church, or vice versa? Have we emphasized too much the pleasant atmosphere and the entertainment, yet not looked after the well-being of our members? Is there a danger there?
That's a tough thing.
Go ahead. I think that's a really good point, because that is something I don't think I've ever really encountered in any of the churches I've gone to, where people are really focused on meeting the needs of the people as opposed to entertaining them. And I think that stance, if we make that our mission, that'll go a lot farther than just looking to entertain people.
You know what, the reason why I think we haven't really encountered that imbalance as well. If you really think about the makeup of a church per se, and this might not be a very good argument, but there are always core people in every church that you go to who, when you really like scrape away everybody else who's putting in their 2 cents, there are usually a group of core people that are really running everything. And I think more people, like the tendency of most people are to, they input their time and their resources and stuff, but it's never at a consistent high level. And so because you have that, what tends to happen is the core group is the one that's kind of it's like a pyramid effect where the people who are coming in can afford to they can afford to imbalance it a little bit, but these core people are the ones that are really helping everything move along a lot. I'm not too sure, but
I think I see what you're saying, and if that is true, if every church is driven by an elite group, if we say, and everyone else is on the fringe, and everyone else can afford to someday come in and get entertained, some days come in and maybe contribute a little, but the core group is who's really running the operation, then what does that say about how well that church is functioning? And is it really
not functioning?
Is it really accomplishing what God had in mind? Because when you think about that passage that speaks about everyone being like a member of a body, you cannot function without your hand, you can't function without your leg.
Yeah.
And those churches that are operating with only a small group may have 4 or 5 members of the body, but everyone else and everything else of the body is missing.
Well, that goes to say as to why maybe God hasn't come yet, and maybe if maybe that's when the revival actually happens, and at the point where we start seeing where it's not so much a core group anymore and everybody else is really kind of coming up to that level, maybe that's when the Holy Spirit's outpoured on the church. I don't know what to tell you. It's a good point.
Well, maybe the great statement then is that has been said before is, don't ask what your church can do for you. Ask what you can do for your church.
Yeah. You know, and you guys brought up a lot of good points, but the thing is, the one thing I really want to emphasize is the fact that, you know, in the Bible, as Juanito said, you know, it talks about the church being the body, right? And how each of us have a chance to have spiritual gifts in which we have to use to contribute to for the success and to excel the church as a whole. Right? And when we go to church and stuff like that, we realize that when we go to church and that, you know, we go to church for the purpose to use our spiritual gifts, you know, I think that in itself will make the difference in terms of whether you get enrichment or entertainment.